Broadcasting from an undisclosed location under a farm pond somewhere in the Midwest. Your host is Jim Crowley. This is Slickfish Radio. Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Slickfish Radio. I am your host, Jim Crowley. So glad you're going to be joining us tonight. And John, already, John jumped on. John, how you doing, man? Thanks for jumping on tonight. As we always tell you, wherever you are at. So we're glad you guys are here. Hey, Ted, how you doing tonight, man? Glad to see you here. Thanks for joining us. And like I said, our guest is going to be Dave Blume tonight. He does custom painting on crankbaits and everything like that. So make sure you check out. We've also got some sales come up. First of all, I want to thank our friends over at Lure Parts Online. Also at Fish 419, at Cast King, at Mudhole, Wire to Fish TV, and Dakota Lithium. And next week, Mudhole is going to have this huge spring cleaning sale. Okay, so it's going to be 25% off of clearance items that are already priced down and other stuff, supplies, any of that. So if you want to do, if you're looking to order anything, get in the rod building for sure. You're going to be able to do that, and you're going to be able to get a great deal on that. So I'm pretty excited about that. We're also going to be giving out discount codes at the end of the show tonight, of course, for Lure Parts Online. David is back. All right, he is back. But we're going to be giving, what's that, Joel? You said you're heading to fish, but wanted to drop in. Well, thanks. I wish I had your job, buddy. Glad to see you. Glad you at least took the time. I love Joel. Awesome. He is an awesome photographer. We just had him on a while back for Crappie Insider or Target Crappie. Joel is just an absolute fan. God bless you, brother. Have fun. Catch him up tonight. And so we're gonna talk. We're gonna give you those discount codes at the end of the show. But I'm gonna bring him in now. There's an old friend of mine. God, it's an old friend of mine. Holy cow, Dave, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful, Jim. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, you bet. I don't know. How long do you think, and I'm going to start not to show our age so much, but I'm going to ask you this question because you and I both got into making our own creations, building stuff later in life. How long do you think you and I have been friends?
Well, I think we were talking about this the other day. My daughter just turned 40.
Oh, geez.
And yeah,
I remember.
Unbelievable. And you and I were traveling together for tournaments when she was maybe 11 or 12.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So quite a while.
Long time.
Long
time, my friend.
That's right. And I'll tell you what, we had so much fun back in the days there. And, I remember you and I were both always kind of tinkers, right? Always trying to change things around and not quizzing so much each other, but going, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And I think it's pretty interesting that later on in life, I got into lure building and rod building, and you really got into and have become quite proficient at painting crankbaits and other things like that. What led you to go, hey, I think I want to try this?
Well, a couple things. Number one, you just kind of hit on the point. You and I were always tinkering with baits, right?
Yep.
And I never met a crankbait I didn't want to change a little bit. and so I did, but I do it with, paint pens and fingernail polish and dyes. Yep. And, it made an improvement, and I was convinced it was catching me for more fish because I made those adjustments, with a little red or a little orange or a little chartreuse or whatever. And about, I've been retired now for 3 years, and about 4 years prior to that, I thought, I'm going to need something to kind of occupy my time. And why not learn how to figure out how to adjust these baits in a way that they look good instead of amateurish. And so I watched lots of YouTube videos, and the kids got me some airbrush stuff and paints for a Christmas or birthday gift one year. And and that's kind of how it started. I just started tinkering and playing, and I wouldn't want to show you some of my beginning baits, but today I'd be proud to show you what I could come up with.
Well, I'll tell you what, don't think you're in the club by yourself, buddy, because the first rod I built, I joke about this all the time. I still have it. But there was probably more glue on me and on the table than there was on the rod.
Yep.
I literally had so much epoxy and so much on me just from not watching the video all the way through. Right.
Yeah.
So because and so once I learned to settle down and have some patience, I was excited just the first time when I set the hook on a rod that I made that all the eyes didn't strip off. Right. So
Right.
I'm just that everything stayed together. And then just like anything else, the more we do things, usually the case is that we get better at that. And so you know, I think it's really cool that you took up the painting the crankbaits and top waters and things like that. Ask you this question, especially when it comes to rod building for me, I find it very therapeutic. I pretty much shut out everything else. I just love being able to start and complete a project. Do you feel the same way?
Oh, absolutely. Going downstairs in the basement and firing up a little country music
Yeah,
and just kind of have the room to myself to just kind of concentrate on what I'm doing. I can sit down and do a session, and maybe I'll not stand up and realize, oh my gosh, I've painted 12 baits and it's been 3.5 hours, you know. So it's yes, it's very relaxing and very enjoyable.
yeah, it's the same thing with me. I put on jazz music or some Christian music that I really like because it just calms me down.
Yep.
Well, and whatever, I think when you build things like that, David Shore just stopped in. Hi, David, how you doing? Glad to have you here tonight. Uh, I think it's I think it's really something when you're able to unwind. And I mean, you had a pretty strenuous job for all those years working at State Farm. You were on the road a lot of times. I know you were really looking forward to retiring, and when you did, I think it helps us physically and mentally when we're able to do something besides what we had to go and do every
Yep.
right? And so
Yep.
now you found a creative outlet for what you're doing. And when did you, after you started it, when did you start? Do you remember back when you painted a certain bait? Because I can remember a rod that I did, and I went, you know what? Maybe I'm starting, and there's always more to learn, but I'm just starting to get
Yep.
the hang of it. Do you remember that time?
Yeah, I do. You know, after I'd make some mistakes and look at stuff and go, you know, it lacks depth. It lacks, you know, I didn't like the color blend. It didn't look very real. Um, uh, Not that I'm such a good artist that I try to make stuff look super real, but it just wasn't quite right. And the again, watching some good YouTube videos of some really good painters, you know, I started to pick up on some tricks and started figuring out how to give baits some depth and how to add multiple colors to and how they meld together. And what I realized once I started doing this for a while, I started seeing the colors in the bait, you know, in other baits that I was looking at, and I could tell what paints were being used and how they were being used, and I could look at a real fish and kind of see, oh, gee, I know what colors I can put together to make it look similar to that real fish. Um, and it just started. It kind of started becoming a second nature because I can see the colors and how
That's
they go
cool.
together. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
cool. Now, I find myself, you know, going into the tackle stores like we always do all the time, and I look at rods and I go, now how did they finish that? No matter what, you know, it's a major brand rod, whatever it is, and sometimes even some of the offshoots that, you know, I've never heard the name before, and I go, I want to see how they finish something. I want to see what their guide placement is. I want to see how they did their thread work and things like that. And it's funny because sometimes I can see the real seat and I go, I know who made that, you
Yeah.
know, or you do that.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at certain crankbaits, do you get ideas from that too? Going, but I think I can put my spin on it.
Exactly, and in fact, when I paint, sometimes I'll have friends, you know, say, "Hey, can you do this bait? I have so much success with, and I always my answer is always I will do Dave Blume's interpretation of that bait.
Yeah.
I will not try to replicate some of those baits, especially some of the Japanese ones that are painted. They're using some special inks and stuff that I don't get into. So I do my version of it, and I've never had anybody complain about what I did. In fact, they lots of times say, "Oh, I like this better." So, yep, I sure do. I browse the Bass Pro magazine and Lure Parts Online magazine, and just anybody that's doing some paints just to kind of get some ideas on something a little different and new. And I always love it when somebody says, "Hey, have you ever painted a pinkish bait or something?" Not too
Mhm.
long ago, I had somebody call me up and say, "Hey, I want to paint some jerk baits for my wife, or I want you to paint some jerk baits for my wife, and she likes pink." And the first thing that came to my mind was the color pattern Morning Dawn,
Yeah.
right? A translucent Morning
Yep.
Dawn jerk bait, which I'd never painted before, and it just again thinking about colors and seeing colors, and then I
Look
came
at
up with
that.
that.
Oh,
You
hold
know,
that up like that. That's
yeah.
beautiful, dude. And pink
So,
right now, pink has come back into its own. It's
oh,
been a
absolutely.
really, really, and you and I have talked about this before. My favorite all-time jerkbait of all time is a size 10 X wrap hot pink for smallmouth. My number
Yes.
one. I've caught more big smallies on that jerkbait than any other jerkbait I've ever thrown. I love that thing. And pink definitely, and you're a smallmouth guy too. And pink definitely has its, especially in really, really cold water. It's a deadly bait for that. We were talking about trout a little while ago. There's another fish that absolutely reacts to pink sometimes. And so are you starting to get more orders for pink? Look at that.
Well, this is my we have a wonderful little lake that we fish up on near the boundary waters
Mhm.
called Tofty, and it's got nothing but rainbow trout in it.
Ooh.
And this little bait right here smokes them up there. I mean, this is go troll this thing for an hour and a half and catch a limit of rainbows,
That's
up to
fun.
20 some odd inches. I mean, it's
Oh, Joe Smith just came in from Iowa. Joe, glad to have you, man. Thanks for being here. Um, and now we at Lure Parts, we actually came out with one of our wiggle sticks in a color called Blink, and it's pink with a blue tint to it. And it's
yep.
been a very, very good seller for us. But I suspect just what I've seen the trends go in the last month or two that you may be getting more orders for pink just for a bunch of. But I know you've got other combinations of that pink and purple too, don't you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's what's fun about this too. And the thing that I've learned is, you can paint a bait translucent and it's going to look one way, and using more translucent colors, and you can, I mean, that that those two baits I just showed you,
Hmm.
you know, this one, this one's translucent. I didn't put any kind of primer on it. And this one, this is pink painted over white and chartreuse, and look how much brighter it is.
Sure.
So you can really change a bait pattern with the same color painted. This is exactly the two same color paints,
Hmm.
which was a fluorescent pink, and yet they come out very differently. So you can change color, or I've learned how to use black to take things and add depth, and just to darken it up a little bit. I don't even have to mix it in the paint. I can just paint over it real lightly and just change how the look of the bait, or how it's the same color, but it's just darkened it just one or two shades, and made it look different. So yeah, absolutely.
There's another trend that we're seeing too, and I know you've heard about it, but of more matte colors or really flat colors, where guys would take the
Yep.
baits and actually take a light grid sandpaper and sand over it. And it's funny because when you look back at some of your crankbaits in your box, some of the best ones are so loaded with teeth marks and scratches that it's dulled the
Yep.
paint and the thing
Yep.
still continues to catch fish. Now, have you done some of the duller or more subtle or subdued colors?
It's as simple as, I mean, the clear coat that I use is a high gloss. But what I've learned is, if after it's dried, but it's still just slightly tacky, the only thing I have to do is handle that bait, move it
Mhm.
around in my hand some. I take the sheen right off of it,
Wow,
and
that's
all of a
cool.
sudden it's not like a true matte, but it just takes the shine right off it, so it's close to matte.
Have you seen differences when you've been out fishing? The one thing, another thing I want to bring up with you too, because I'm pretty sure you feel the same way too. I always felt that when you built your baits, you built your rods, you're more in tune with those baits because you're concentrated on it because you made it. As good as a crankbait fisherman as you are, have you found that since you started painting your own baits, it seems like you're paying more attention, even more to those baits because you made them?
I don't know if I pay that much more attention, as much as just confidence level, because I
Sure.
know I've painted something that has lots of triggers to it. Even when I do baits, I think about, what triggers fish. Well, flash triggers fish, sound triggers fish, vibration triggers fish. And so, for example, let's take something as simple as a black chartreuse, which is a very popular blackback
Mhm.
chartreuse crankbait, square bills especially. Well, what I do with it is I go, well, how can I get more flash out of this bait? Well, what I do is I take and put silver on the shoulders. And so
Interesting.
it goes from black to silver to chartreuse, and
Mhm.
you get a different flash as that bait rolls and spins back and forth. And so it's added another element that can trigger a bite just by adding that silver on the shoulders.
I think my wife chimes in at every show and
Hey,
says hi
Rhonda.
just because then she knows exactly where I'm at. I think that's it.
Checking up on us.
That's it. Check it
Well,
up
she
on it.
knows you're with me. It could be trouble,
It
right?
could be this is two big party animal troublemakers here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, hey, when we come back, we're going to take a little bit of a break here. When we come back, Dave, I want to get into some of the stuff of how you paint these baits, and I know you've got some little things that you do on your own,
Yep.
where because people, what you're going to find out is that you can buy stuff and you can also create it on your own. And Dave's very good at taking advantage of both of those. So he's going to show you some of the ways that he does stuff, and that might clue you into some things where if you get into painting crankbaits, that may be able to be good for you. And as him and I have both discussed, you're never too late to take up another great hobby that leads to fishing. We'll be
Yep.
back, as Chuck Woolery used to say, we'll be back in two and two.
At Lure Parts Online, we have everything you need to make your own lures, tie your own flies, pour soft plastics, and more. Easy ordering ensures you get your products quickly. You can build all you need to create your own angling success at Lure Parts Online. Cast King, fueled by innovation through novel concepts and ingenious designs, markets directly to consumers with unprecedented cost-effective e-commerce practices, cutting costs by 30% more on average. Cast King empowers anglers of all skill levels to achieve things never thought possible. Find out more at castking.com. Independent, family-owned, and built on biblical principles, Fish 419 is dedicated to its customers. We believe that outdoor activities, including fishing, bring family and friends together. We provide quality products at realistic prices with superior customer service. Check out our trending styles now at fish419.com. Mudhole is your number one source for custom fishing rods. Mudhole is the world's largest supplier of rod building supplies, information, education, and instruction. The best components and brands you trust, including MHX, CRB, American Tackle, Pro Products, Fuji, AFCO, and more. It's easy to build your own fishing rods at mudhole.com. With 25% of net profits donated to faith-based and clean water initiatives, Wire to Fish Coffee was founded by folks who love Jesus, a good day of fishing, and great coffee. With every bag of Wire to Fish coffee, you support clean water, the sport of fishing, and helping others with a better quality of life. Find out more, wiretofishcoffee.com. believing quality is measured by lifespan, harnessing their unique chemistry, engineering, and know-how. Dakota Lithium lasts 4 times longer, powering your passions and backing it up with an 11-year warranty. Find out more at dakotalithium.com.
Hi, this is Jim Crowley. Make sure to catch my other show, Jim Crowley Outdoors, where we travel across North America pursuing anything that swims. We always detail our equipment and techniques and more, all in the pursuit of helping you to become a better angler. Jim Crowley Outdoors can be seen on Wire to Fish TV Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on Sling, Flex, Sports Tribal, Bistro TV, Local Now, and more streaming stations. Hey, and we are back. Got my good buddy and custom crankbait painter, and he paints other stuff too, Dave Blume. Dave, thanks again for coming back on the show. Oh my goodness, Dave, look at this. Now we know the show is went to heck in a handbasket. Look who joined us.
Well, hey, Andy.
There he is. So we got Big Stick with us tonight. So that's good. That's good. Hey, let's get into some of your stuff about. You were telling me a little bit before about you get stencils and stuff like that from lure parts and other things like that. But you've also developed some other ways just through trial and error of developing some patterns. So let's talk about some of that. What are a couple of your or several of your favorite ways or things to do to get just that specific look that you want?
I found another thing that's real simple for scale is just get one of these hoops,
Mm-hmm.
and I stretched loofah of all things. You go to the dollar store and get loofah and cut it and stretch it, and I lay that over the bait, and
Look at that.
hit it. I just hit it with a little bit of black or purple. Lots of times I'll use purple on the scale, and then I'll lay. And then I'll lay the stripes. I dry it every time. I use a hair dryer, just a simple old hair dryer. I think it's a hair dryer I used when I was in college. The last thing I do, the real magic comes when I lay some black, and you'll never know that that's black, but I lay some black over that chartreuse on the back, and it turns it kind of a greenish brown hue.
It does. It's very cool.
And it brings out all the depth in the bait.
Yeah.
And then the other part of just a good bait, a good looking bait is detail. So, then you put the little white striping on underneath the gill, and then you put a little black gill on it. And then I just take a dotter, and another real simple thing. This is one of those fingernail dotters, that women will use to put dots on their fingernails. Well, this is where I put dots either on maybe a crawdad bait or dot this and use that sawtooth pattern on this comb and just lay this over the chartreuse and put the darker green or brown stripes on it, and then add some black to the back, and it all of a sudden it looks like a perch. They all start out the same, which
I like that one.
Yeah, this is just a blueback chartreuse that's very popular and does wonderful on the Mississippi River if you're fishing for river fish. But yeah, that's kind of how it goes. And you don't have to spend tons of money. I mean, you can get some of the flat-sided stencils. Here's a couple examples. Like I use this one for my crappie type patterns.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, they end up looking something like this.
Yeah, that's a good looking bait. That's a good crappie bait.
And if I want it to look even more crappie, it's the same basic pattern, except for I give it some green on the sides.
Oh, look at that. Yep.
And that one actually has some glitter in it too that you can do. We can talk about that when we talk about finishing baits. But you can get something like this. I got these from Lure Parts Online. They only cost about $3-4 a piece.
Mhm.
And so I ended up doing a lot of crawdads, and rather than doing a real perfect crawdad, I just cut out, this is just laminated cardboard, and I just cut out that little kind of L pattern that I can lay on a bait and get a craw pattern that looks
That's
like that.
cool. Yeah.
It's not real perfect, but it comes out nice, and all I know is they catch fish.
Well, we got Andy just asked a question. He goes, "Dave, where do you get your blanks from?"
Well, that's a good question, because part of doing this was, where do I get my blanks? It kind of depends on what blanks I'm buying, because some are more expensive and than others, and some are more perfect than others. So I've used Shelts out of China. I've used Predator. I've used Cedar Run. Um, I've used Lure Parts Online.
Mhm.
I love some of the Lure Parts Online stuff. For example, they their their Whopper Plopper
Mhm.
um, comes with the tail off, which is the only Whopper Plopper that comes with the tail off, and all I have to do is glue it on. And
Mhm.
the beauty of that is, I kind of like color on the tail, but this little rubber tail, it'll take paint, but it'll wear off a lot faster than it will
Mhm.
on the bait. So this allows you to paint the shaft
Yeah.
and get that color, and then clear coat it, and then last step is to glue that back on, and you get a really nice color through that transparent bait there. um, so so there's a lot of vendors out there. Some of them are better than other, but sometimes you have to kind of experiment about which ones actually have a blank that goes well.
Sure.
Um,
So what are some of your other ones? I love that bluegill, but what else?
the bluegill's real
Yep.
good. Um, uh, and really the four bait styles that do really well or sell really well are square bills, 1.5s. These This is a
That's pretty.
knockoff to the Megabass S crank, um, that's been real effective. I This is one of those baits where if you're fishing around wood, it just hardly ever gets caught up
Mhm.
in the wood. It's like a 4x4 in timber, man. And one of the reasons is it's got this bulbous front end that
Mhm.
makes it very buoyant, but it also, the if the hook eye on the tail is up top instead of
Yeah.
down below, so
Pretty
the
cool.
hook rides up high, and so as this is going, the hook gets up here and it doesn't catch the wood. And this is my spring craw pattern, and this is a real popular um, color pattern that I get a lot of requests for. And then, of
I'm
course, in a
guessing
few
also
minutes.
with that hook riding high like that, to me, that would increase the hookup
Oh yeah,
percentage
absolutely.
without question, just by moving that rear eye, especially when fish are chasing it, trying to pin it on the bottom. You've got
Yep.
to have fish hook better when that hook rides on top.
Yep, yep. And the first time I fished that bait, I was fishing a creek on Pool 19 in the Mississippi River, and that's got lots of wood in it. And I literally spent an hour trying to hang that bait up in that wood. I got hung up one time in an hour.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of my go-to for that. Um, the wiggle warts, as I showed you,
Sure.
um, in craw patterns, various craw patterns. I've got a green and brown craw
That's
that
pretty nice.
looks really good. This one, I'm notorious for looking in my live well after tournaments
Mhm.
and trying to see what the color of the crawdads are, that get spit up or whatever. And this one, um, came as an inspiration from being, I fish the boundary waters every spring. In fact, I've been working on getting my schedule all lined out to to fish up there. And one day I was fishing with my son, and we had one spit up a whole crawdad, a big old smallmouth, and it had the bone belly, it had blue on its face, and it was kind of a rusty kind of looking red on its back. And
Yep.
so that was my inspiration for this. So trust me, when I go up north, this baby's right there with me for smallmouth especially, but the walleye will eat them too.
But yeah,
Um,
and especially where you said boundary waters, and especially going into Lake of the Woods, they are known for their rusty crayfish population.
yep,
And you know what? Sometimes I can say I still think a lot of times that speed and retrieve speed and depth can make more can make more of a difference in a lot of cases. But I've also seen those times when color definitely makes it. And when you're fishing where you were just the boundary waters, and when I'm fishing Lake of the Woods for smallmouth, you better have some red. You have to.
yep, yep,
You have to have. Uh, we call it Canadian craw. One of the colors we just came out with the lure parts, and it's dark green on one side. It's red with it's got a little bit of gold flake in it, and those fish, I have literally seen them regurgitate and everything that reddish orange, reddish browns, and exactly what you
yep,
said. And folks, Dave hit it on the head. Smallmouth and walleyes, and a lot of times in the summertime, they'll be ganging up in the same places, and they are feasting on those crayfish. And if you've got something red, reddish pink, orange, you're you're going to catch fish. That's
yep,
just what they feed. That is such a high source of protein on those natural lakes like that, especially for smallmouth and walleyes too, that they will just feast on those things. And it's an invasive species, and there are certain parts of the lakes when they get in there, those crankbaits like that one Dave showed right there. If you're going up to the boundary waters, you better order some of those. You're going to need them.
yep, yep. They're good, and jerk baits too.
Yep,
Perch colored jerk baits with a this is this
beauty.
is a this is a Lure Parts Online. They call it the pinhead. It's a 3.5-inch bait,
Hmm.
and this perch with the fire tail on it, a little orange under its chin. We have easily 30 to 40 fish days on this guy
That's awesome.
up on the boundary waters, so for the smallmouth mostly. But occasionally you'll catch a nice big pike or walleye too on it. Um, but it's one of those baits where I can tune these to get them to suspend pretty good. I was
Hmm.
fishing with an older gentleman last year, and he sometimes likes to sit down. He gets tired. He sits
Sure.
down and he's throwing this little pinhead, and I'm standing up looking. And I'm like, Dick, you might want to stand up. You've got six smallmouth staring at that bait right now. Because they were all just converging on it and looking at it, and it was just sitting there. So,
Waiting for
so
one wrong
yeah,
move.
yep, yep.
That's
Those
it.
those work really good. Um, uh, I have a suspending jerk bait that I use a lot up
Nice.
there or anywhere really. This has been a really good one. This one is kind of a knockoff to a Rapala X Wrap. Um, it's got it's hard to see through. You can see the scale that I did on it,
Hmm.
but in the center of it, it's got a foil that'll kind of go green to kind
That's
of a
cool.
pinkish
Yep.
hue.
Can see that.
And in clear water, this thing is just awesome. Um, and so I like this one. This is a shad pattern that I use a lot. And then if I can get it out,
You're getting hang up, you're going to end up hooking yourself.
yeah, I should have taken. I tried to take the hooks off of most of these, but
Well, yeah, then you got to return that dot maker and the loofah that you stole from your wife. So I would say that would be the only downside of that.
so another style of
Oh, there you
blanks
go.
that you can get has foil on them.
Yeah.
Foil baits are really cool too. And like this color pack, this is like my number one go-to all-purpose. I've caught lake trout on this thing. I've
I
caught
bet.
smallmouth on this thing. I've caught walleye on it. I've caught big pike on it. I've caught bass here locally on it at Clinton Lake and some of the local lakes. Um, this thing just plain catches fish,
Yeah.
and this is a knockoff to a Mega Bass 110,
Hmm.
and it's a slow sinking style bait, and it just and that's kind of what's cool about this stuff too. You can get the kind with the foil on them. You can get the kind with the foil inside and paint translucent around, and just do stuff to enhance um, the fish catchability of the fish. Back to that, how do you what do triggers fish?
Mhm.
Flash, vibration, sound, and then color or sight. And when you're fishing, especially in these clear water situations, um, that translucent or that flash, especially on a sunny day, it really stands out because they'll come a long way to get that
Oh,
bait
yeah,
from
and it's
in that
especially
clear
that's
water.
why usually sunny days are better smallmouth
Yep.
fishing because
Yep.
they're such visual
Yes.
feeders and they can see a bait that far off. Same way, I've done that and watched them come from 20, 30 foot away. I'm like, here they come,
Yep.
and coming for a bait, and that's so much fun. Well, Dave, I sure appreciate you being with us tonight. Why don't you tell everybody how they can go about ordering and where they can find out more? How can they contact you?
Yeah. So I'm a Facebook guy. And I don't have a website because I'm really not a business. I'm a hobbyist, but I do sell. Trying to pay for the hobby, which is also tournament fishing and otherwise. And I do like to donate baits to like some of the kids and some of the charities. So I always like to try to make enough that I can kind of cover those kinds of costs too. But I'm on Facebook as Dave Blume, Blume. I can be PM'd, and what's nice about my Facebook page is I post everything I paint. So if somebody wants
Yes,
to
he does. Yep.
browse that, they can see, yeah, you're going to see some family stuff, and you're going to see I'm also I do a lot of smoked meats and stuff, so you'll see some of that too. Um, with my grandpa Dave, what are we having for supper stuff?
Yep.
But that's the easiest way to get hold of me, through the Facebook. And what's nice about that, then people can kind of browse stuff and get an idea of
Sure.
maybe what they're looking for. And the other thing we didn't talk about is I mean, you can refurbish baits. That's the other beauty of this. You got some older baits that are all chewed up, or maybe even you find a good buy on some baits someplace, at these tackle swaps and stuff on some stock baits, and you don't like the color. Well, so what? I know a guy, you know. uh,
He can change
and
that.
we,
Yeah,
we can change that and
they can
make that
change that.
better. And so, but that's the best way to get hold of me.
Well, that's it, buddy. I sure appreciate. Thanks for taking your time. It's always good to see and talk fishing with you. And thanks for sharing some of your secrets tonight. And I hope you all take advantage. Dave's really done himself well on these baits. I know a lot of anglers that have bought baits from him. They're all pleased with them. You get excellent quality stuff, as you saw right there. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the nicest guys I've ever known. I'm proud to call him a friend. My good friend, God bless you and your family, and thank you for being on tonight. And I'm sure we will talk soon.
Yes, sir. We're going fishing here maybe next month, for smallmouth, buddy.
You know what? I'm going to hold you to that.
You were going to do it.
We'll see you soon.
All right. Y'all take care.
Bye bye. That was great. Good night, guys. Thanks, Jim. Thank you, Andy. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. A lot of comments tonight, and I really thought you would enjoy that. Dave is quite the craftsman, and has really come into his own. It's funny, we had said early at the beginning of the show that we were both tinkerers, and sometimes we would just show each other what we were doing. Uh, and you never knew way back then that it would lead to building this. And I'm so glad he's had success with doing that. He's a great tournament angler as well, but he's a conscientious and professional builder and painter of those baits. So if any of you decide to get anything from Dave, I'm 100% sure that you are going to be satisfied. So we are going to give you some discount codes and a little more news to go. So, but first and foremost, here's another discount code for Lure Parts Online. Put in that JC Outdoors 10 at checkout, and you will get 10% off your order. And just remember, if you follow us on YouTube and on TikTok, there's additional discount codes there for Lure Parts Online. I'm going to be releasing some cool videos next week with pink in it and some really cool stuff that I don't think you might expect. It's going to be some pretty cool stuff, some pretty cool videos. So follow me and follow Lure Parts Online on social media, and you will see those and use that discount code. So that's 15% off. So if you go to fish419.com, put in the code ThanksJC, and you will get 15% off. Now remember, they make men's and ladies glasses as well, and they also have clip-ons for you guys who wear glasses. But go into Fish419, and you'll see they're Google rated #1. If you ever have a problem with any of the glasses and they have a great warranty, guess who answers the phone? The owner. That's right. That's Craig Kloss. He will answer that phone and he will take care of you. I've never, ever, ever in all these years had a complaint from anybody wearing Fish 419 because they stand behind what they produce. And I've been thrilled with their glasses, and I'm sure you will too. Our friends over at Casking. Now, this code right here, this may be changing pretty soon, folks. I'm just telling you. So right now, if you still want that 20% off, put in that code JC52AFF and you will get 20% off. We'll let you know when the codes change. It's just what happens in the industry once in a while. They start changing things around, and that's just what we're going to have to do. But for now, you can use that code JC52AFF, and you will get 20% over at Casking. And as always, I got a lot of great deals and a lot of new stuff coming out. I've got a new video coming out, I think next week, on their new wide view scale. You're going to be really impressed. This scale will weigh fish up to 50 pounds. It holds 10 individual weights of fish, only 3 buttons on the entire thing. It's incredible. And one of them, after you set it to pounds, you'll never have to use it again. So literally 2 buttons and you can have everything done. Incredible scale. Check out their new wide view scale over there at Cast King, and you can use that code. Now, our friends over at Wired to Fish Coffee, as me, you know me, always got to have caffeine, and we love that Wired to Fish coffee, and they have a great medium and dark roast. But here's a really cool thing. Only coffee company that I know of that gives 20% of its profits back to clean water, the sport of fishing, and faith-based initiatives. So literally helping to change things for the better, one cup at a time. Love Wired to Fish coffee. The taste is phenomenal. Take me up on that. And you can also get a monthly subscription if you want. But go to Wired to Fish Coffee, put in that code SLICKFISH, and you will get 15% off. Our friends over at Dakota Lithium Batteries, you get 10% off there if you put in the code SLICKFISH10. I know the lithium batteries are expensive, but I'm running them again at my boat this year. Power for hours and an 11-year warranty on Dakota Lithium. So you can't beat it. I sure appreciate all of you joining us tonight. Man, I think we had 6 or 7 different states tonight. Thank you, everybody. That is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. I sure appreciate you all being on tonight. As I always tell you, I wouldn't have a show if it wasn't for all of you. I truly appreciate you watching this show and putting my show, Jim Crowley Outdoors, on Wired to Fish TV in the top 5 again this year for Wired to Fish TV. And Slickfish Radio is climbing the charts pretty good as well. Jim Crowley Outdoors is now on 7 days a week on Wired to Fish TV, every day at 4 p.m. Central Time. And you can find Slickfish Radio here. If you're not watching us on Facebook, you can find us on Wired to Fish TV, all 11 stations. I think we're on at 5 p.m., 5 days a week. You can also find us, and thank you to our audience who joined us on Roku, Fire TV, Amazon Music, and iTunes. Oh, and don't forget Spotify, because you guys join us over there as well. We got one more comment coming in. Ted Kazi says, God bless. Well, Ted, God bless you too, man. Praying for you as always. Thanks for joining us tonight. I sure do appreciate that. Until next time, my friends, again, thank you so very, very much. I sure appreciate each and every one of you. God bless you. Have a great rest of the week.